Mark.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Jason Lowe here with Jason Lowe Photography and Films. Welcome back to another episode of the JL Photography and Films podcast series. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about storytelling. So, this is actually going to be, believe it or not, involving not only screenwriting but also filmmaking as well. Mainly because storytelling comes in all shapes and forms and different ways. Ways that you would never ever realize now. Wow. I never realized that was there. So, we'll start with basically the other day when a friend of mine approached me about, doing a video for her business. And, basically, she wants to interview one of her clients. But the thing is that her client isn't really sure how to tell her story. So, I can't really specifically say what the story is about. I mean, what her personal story is about because it is personal. But my advice that I could give her too is before we actually like film this promo video about her client's story, I can basically tell her that okay, if you want my advice as far as like filming something goes, we have to start with the very first step of filmmaking, and that's pre-production. And in pre-production, you have a script or a story. But the question is, what's the story about? So you always want to go towards the three-act structure. Act one, act two, act three, beginning, middle, and end. And, just that's what's going to help you shape up the story to where you already know the story, and her client already knows the story by heart. It's just the way of like telling it in a structural way to where the story will flow. Again, beginning, middle, and end. So let's start with the first act, which is the beginning, right? That's the introduction. It's like, who's the character and what's the story about? And then act two is going to be the journey of like, resolving, the issue that came about in act one. And then act three is going to be the resolution where everything that the character or the hero has learned from act two has led to the resolution and how things go back to order as it started. So that's pretty much the three-act structure. And I gave her an example of what I learned back in college. In fact, this is actually a community college in Chico, Butte College, that I attended before I went to San Francisco State. So it's a film production class, and the professor there, he used a really good example. In fact, like, a couple examples, and they were in a way of like just, showing you how storytelling is everywhere. The three act structure basically is everywhere. So an example was, commercials. You look at a commercial, the three act structure is actually there. Here's an example of a commercial that we all see every day. A Swifter commercial, right? The cleaning product that sweeps up a lot of dust. One of them was, okay, so you have this lady, right? Everything was all nice and bright and rainbows and sunshine. Then suddenly she noticed like there's dust everywhere, and there was the first act right there. There was order and now there's an issue, and we also are introduced to the villain, which is the dust. They're making the whole place dirty. Now we go into act two. What is she going to do to overcome all these dust? The Swifter. She comes to discover the Swifter, right? She puts it together and then she starts basically going into battle, which now brings us to act three, which is the resolution. She discovered the Swifter in act two, and now she's using it to clean up and basically get rid of the dust. And now that the dust are gone, everything's back to, the way it was, nice and clean, rainbows and sunshine. And that was all in the span of 30 seconds. Here's another example, a recent one actually. So a guy comes home from work, he's tired and he's hungry, but then he doesn't have the energy to cook. That's the buildup of the first act. There's an issue, and now he has to go into act 2 to find out how he can overcome that issue. And he pulls out his phone. Hey, you got Grubhub. So now he starts ordering all the food that he wants on Grubhub. And while he's doing his own thing, relaxing, the food's on its way. The resolution is basically from Act 2, which is, getting onto Grubhub and, ordering the food. The food finally arrives in Act 3, which is now him being able to have food and, basically solve his problem of hunger and also what to do about getting food, right? So there you go. There's a 3-act structure right there. And, I can go on and on forever, but, just turn on your TV and whatever commercial comes on. In fact, do it right now. I mean, you can probably be listening to this podcast and watching the TV at the same time. You'll notice that in the commercials, there's that 3-act structure. And so that's why I was telling my friend too, who wants to do this promo video, starring her client, is go with that 3-act structure, and you will be able to tell your story in not just a structural way, but in a way where it presents itself, unfolds itself, and then resolves itself. So that's one of the things that I would tell anybody who's looking to write a story. Follow that 3-act structure. Now, a lot of people tend to do it differently. Some actually go with just a 2-act structure, which is like a super short version. But you know what? The basics has always been the 3-act structure. And when you go that route, you tell a story of any way, and people majority of the time will understand it. That's like the template. That's like the map of the journey of the hero, or the hero's journey. So definitely look into that. And again, check out those commercials. Any one of them, they will have the 3-act structures. And then if you ever have a story, it's like follow that 3-act structures and you got yourself a story. I do that all the time when I'm writing screenplays, and it has never failed me. Yes, I will have to go back and proofread some of my writings, but the story will still flow. It's like if I make changes, then it disturbs the flow, and now I have to refix it to where now Act 1 connects to Act 2, 2 connects to 3. There you go. But otherwise, yes, that's it for this episode. It's a kind of a short one, but just kind of straight to the point. So, and a funny thing too is, before I end this, it's like even this podcast, it follows the 3-act structure. The Act 1 is, okay, my friend wants to find a way to, help her client tell a story through a promo video. And then, her Act 2 is, talking with me about it, and me giving her the advice of following the 3-act structure. And now, well, we haven't reached Act 3 yet, but Act 3 would pretty much be, after learning about the 3-act structure, her client's able to, now figure out a way to, tell her story. So there you go, the 3-act structure, all in this podcast. But anyways, as always, thank you for joining me on this podcast episode. Definitely love to hear some feedbacks of what you guys think of the 3-act structure. And for those who have already wrote scripts, stories, it's like, did you guys follow the 3-act structures, or did you just go about it your own way? Definitely would like to hear from you guys too. But otherwise, that's it for this episode. As always, thank you for joining me. If you guys want to check out more of my work, you can find them on my social media networks. And also, if you guys haven't done so either, definitely click on that subscribe button on my YouTube channel. That way you guys can get notifications on any upcoming projects or events that I'll be involved in. So definitely looking forward to hearing from you guys. But until then, this is Jason Lore with Jason Lore Photography and Films, bringing you art, stories, and entertainment.